What up, y'all? We back to another episode of the Past Journey, Present Progression Podcast. I'm your host, Cleasy B. Today I got a special guest. I got my guy, Lewis Guy Jr. Man, good guy, man. He's representing Guiding Youth for Life Consultancy. Also, he's representing Good Shepherd Youth Outreach, man. And he got some good informative information out here, man, in terms of helping you start knowing how to helping you start a business, but at the same time, he got a lot of good information as far as community too, you know. So I think this is going to be a good episode, man. So you guys, please bear with me and let's get this thing on the road, man. And we gonna, first and foremost, I need to start getting used to doing this, but y'all need to subscribe, like, share, comment, download. Do all of that stuff, man. Help me run these numbers up. As you see, we got a good message we trying to put out there. You know, we trying to see some people see the other side of life, if you will, by help guiding them to get started, you know, as far as a career go or on in a business. And with that being said, man, please help me welcome my guy, Lewis, man, to the platform.
What's up, man?
Man, my guy.
Good to see you, bro.
Man, thank you,
on
man.
this side, brother.
Man, I'm honored to have you here, man. You know, because I know you're a knowledgeable guy, you know what I'm saying?
I try to be.
And then I know you're a good person, you know what I'm saying? So you ain't going to put no information out there that can't nobody use, and that ain't right.
That's how we get out, man.
Man, so
it's all about the brand, character, integrity, and being real.
Yeah, man. So I'm happy to have you here, man.
Thanks, man, for having me, man.
Yeah, man. So how everything been, man? Like, how COVID been treating you? How you been evading that, man?
Man, you know, for me, man, I think for me personally, the pandemic really helped me to see kind of some personal things for what I need to deal with as far as a personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
So it helped me to slow down, relax a little bit, deal with some personal issues and different things that's actually going to help me to really pivot to the next level.
Right.
I've seen the pandemic, man, really help people to kind of look at what they want to do with their life. Mm-hmm. And if we talk about business, I think a lot of folks really say, you know what, it's really time for me to do something. Because if we think about it, 10 years is a decade.
Mm-hmm.
So we pretty much are going into the third decade.
Yeah.
So really, what you do now is going to basically launch what you're going to do for the next decade.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what the pandemic did for me, man.
I like that perspective, too.
Yeah,
That's
what it did,
that was hard, man.
Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah, man, I kind of second that, though, because, you know, like you said, you know, the pandemic, we sitting in the house, you know, income just slowed down for a lot of people. So a lot of people had to go to the creative ones who went to the drawing board, and, you know, they came out with a lot of plans and stuff. And I see a lot of people that started a business, created some type of little entrepreneur venture.
Yep.
And it kind of helped inspire me, too.
Yes,
you know
man.
what I mean?
That's what it did.
I was one of those people, like, they didn't slow down. What's going on?
Because it took us out of being an employee to become an employer.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're working for other people, and then when the pandemic hit, it was like, well, man, I can't make money with these folks, so I got to make money for myself. So it really just got us off our procrastination.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it did.
Bro, that's crazy that you used that word, because that's exactly what it was. And for me, to be honest with you, I didn't even want to apply that word to me because I didn't want to admit to be procrastinating.
Come on, man.
But
yeah.
when you're forced to step outside of your normal, you know what I'm saying, you have to, I would think you have to just reevaluate things.
Most
you know what
definitely.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Be like, oh, man. Yeah, I was procrastinating in life.
Exactly, that's what we do. And even when you say procrastination, even as a man, I'll say a black man, sometimes it's hard for us to honestly say that, right? Sometimes I can procrastinate. But when you think about it, the pandemic also helped me to see, me personally, to see what are those things that I could do better in, right? To actually go to the next level. So pandemic helped us, but it also messed up our so-called disciplines we had. Because I thought I had a lot of discipline.
Okay, yeah.
But when the pandemic came, I was like, well, man, I really ain't got that together. I need to work on that. I need to deal with this. So it disrupted the so-called disciplines we thought we had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our so-called conviction.
All that, man. The normal stuff we was doing, what we thought was good.
Yeah.
And it wasn't good.
You're right. Yeah. It's crazy when you step in, you like I said, man, you're forced to look at yourself objectively.
Yeah.
And for some people that could be uncomfortable, but for some they embrace it and learn and
Yeah.
move like we have.
You have to.
Yeah.
You gotta look at yourself, embrace it, and say, "Hey, man, I'm uncomfortable with this. I know what I need to do for the next 10 years. So now it's time to move and do what I need to do."
That's hard. Man.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's
hard, man. Yeah.
Bro. All right, man. Look. Damn. See, I can feel where this interview finna go,
Yeah, man.
which is a good, positive way, right? So, in order for it to keep going that way, I want you to start off and tell the people, where you from, where you was born and raised at.
Oh, man, I'm from Shreveport, Louisiana, man.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it all started for me. A lot of people don't know. Shreveport came from Captain Street, which was had a Confederate station. Port was slave port. So just that history of Shreveport, man, was the foundation of life. Even business, right? I realized, man, as early on as my grandfather, man, of course, he did sharecropping. Both my grandfathers sharecroppers. And I remember as a kid, man, they really was teaching me business early on. Like my grandfather, when I was 8 years old, he gave me a secretary book. He had a church. And he said, "You're going to count the money." And I was like, okay. So that's when I realized in the little ledgers, you had the ledgers with the little brown book, you had the little ledgers. I was like, oh, that's where the dollar go. That's where the cents go. So that's why I really learned about money and business. So it's really being in my grandfather's church was where I learned business, counting money, and that's where it grew.
Mm-hmm.
So Shreveport gave me a lot of foundation as far as my grandfather taught me how to go out and cut grass and be it. Okay, how big is this yard? How much gas is it gonna take? How much time is it gonna take? And that's what you're gonna charge me. My grandfather taught me how to build houses. So he would help me go to the store and count up the cost. And I learned how to do bids. With landscaping, whether we was doing cement, doing steel, where we would go get steel like metal. And he would say, okay, based on how much is on the truck, we're going to go across the scale. If they pay you this much, this how much you're going to make. So my grandfather really taught me a lot, man, growing up in Shreveport.
So those are like good structural aspects of business that he was teaching you, like on the fly, like,
Yes.
'cause you have to know, like, accounting.
Yes.
You have to know that, and yeah, bro, that's hard.
Yeah.
Like I like that, bro.
Yeah. But it was frustrating though, because I was like, why am I doing this? Because I want to play. I want to be my friends.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the kicker, was that when summer ended, I had money to buy my school clothes.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, he was teaching me how to make money for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have to be in his pocket,
Mm-hmm.
and I can buy my own clothes. So it was a growing pain.
Yeah, sound like it. It impacted you because you remembered and you're talking about it right now.
Yep.
So he set out to do what he tried to do.
He set out what he tried to do. And one of the things that I always remember is there's a scripture in the Bible says, when you train up a child in the way they should go, when they get older, they won't depart from it. So that whole foundation he put in me helped me to always go back to, how do you make money for yourself when things go bad? When you can't work for other people, how can we as people go back to basically make money for ourselves? And that's what it did. It gave me that confidence as a little kid that I could do it. And it helped me to always remember that fear is a part of life. Fear is a part of life.
Yeah.
But I was able to come to fear of, man, I did that. So every time that fear would come, I knew if I pushed through it, there was always going to be a reward. So yeah, that's what I learned, man.
That's a good perspective too. Like you said, that fear is definitely a part of life. And for some like me, when I'm fearful of something, I tend to go toward head first.
Most definitely.
Because I'm trying to hurry up and get it out the way.
Exactly.
And then there's others, that when they approach a fearful situation, they go the opposite direction.
They go the opposite direction. Exactly. Yeah.
So it definitely ties into life. It is that's how deep it is when it comes to life. You know what I'm saying? Because fear, man. Fear can either destroy you or build you.
That's what it can do. Destroy or build you. You can either be preyed on or prey on it. Mm-hmm. So you can be the prey or you can prey on it. Yeah. That's just it.
That's it, man. How long? So when did you come up to Washington?
Man, I came here in 1993. Actually, yesterday made 28 years I've been in Seattle.
28?
28 years. So I came here June 26, 1993, on a Greyhound bus with $5 in my pocket. Got off the bus downtown Seattle, $5 in my pocket. My cousin who picked me up, she had never even drove to Seattle downtown, so she had to get somebody to bring her downtown to pick me up from the Greyhound bus station.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's how I came to Northwest. Young man, came here, and I came here to make money, get a job. Opportunities, man. Everybody talking about Seattle. When you get a good job up here, you hear people coming back from the South. The Great Migration is how a lot of blacks got to the Northwest anyway. The Great Migration, blacks went west, went up through the Oregon, and came to Washington. So that's how I got here, man. 1993, June 26th.
Just coming up here looking for opportunities.
Opportunities, man. You're trying to escape, man. We know the South, man. Louisiana has, I believe, 10 prisons. 10 state prisons.
Word?
Yes, 10 prisons. And when you look at the data today, Louisiana is about, I think, 46%, 40, maybe 50% males make up the population. The prison system makes up about 76%. So you're trying to escape this whole, people talk about prison industrial complex, right? So you're trying to get out of that. You're trying to get opportunity. You're trying to get somewhere where you can sustain and thrive. However, you come to the Northwest and the same thing. It's the dirty grind. You got to get your grind on. You got to navigate. You got to figure out what you're going to do. So, yeah.
What was a couple, just give me like an example of a couple of things you was trying to escape coming from Louisiana?
Well, man, I ain't gonna lie, man. I grew up a church boy. All of us, man, we went to church. Man, vacation Bible school, Wednesday night. We was at church all day.
Yeah, too much church.
We had a lot of church. We did church, man. It was church, right? But I think, man, 1980, man, the crack epidemic hit. And it hit the South, man. You got 4 major drug cartels. You got the Mexicans. You got the Jamaicans. You got the Cubans, the Haitians, the Gulf of Mexico. Before you know it, man, you trying to, that became the bigger employer. As a young man, you seeing, okay, here's money. However, I was trying to really escape that. And it was like, man, I know better. I'll be honest. I knew better. I knew the things I was doing was going against what I was taught. So me getting out of Louisiana was opportunity to really make a change. And that's why I came here. I had to get out. Had to get out, man.
That's interesting you say that, like, that you were conscious and aware of, the effects that came with the things that you were doing.
Yes.
And in our neighborhoods, it's like, I think I ain't gonna say most of us, but a lot of us are aware of that, you know what I'm saying? But it's just that environment is like,
yes,
it's poverty. What are we gonna do?
Exactly.
And I used to use my environment for an excuse, But then I took a new perspective on that, which is a whole different story. But I can see, like, how it correlates. Like, everybody a lot of people be aware of that, man. But that environment is just it's toxic.
It's real.
It's cancerous.
It's real, man. It weighs on you. It weighs on you.
And it's generational.
And it's generational. It's called generational historical patterns.
Learned behavior.
That has just been passed on. You're seeing what other people do, and it becomes what you think is a belief system.
Yeah.
And sometimes I had to challenge some of those beliefs. As far as what I was learning, like, is that really true?
Yeah.
Can I really do better in life? And I think all of us have conviction. You think about this. All of us, when we got in trouble, we always heard that small voice say, you ain't supposed to do that. Why are you going over there? Don't go over there. And it's just, we would override it. Because like you say, environments, peer pressure, your friends, you trying to impress people. You don't want to feel like you weak. I think one of the biggest things was that I was a smart kid. I remember being in enrichment classes in high school, and I remember getting out of enrichment classes to get in basic classes. Because if you were smart, that mean you was a square.
Yeah.
Right? Being smart mean you was a square. So you don't want them labels of, man, you a square, you going to school, you want to make straight A's. So all of that pressure end up pushing you down the wrong path.
And that's just one example
Yes.
of misconception that we grew up to believe. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? That's just one example.
One example.
That's crazy.
I mean, think about being a man. Right? All of us live in this man box. Right? And sometimes, man, being in a man box is like, at some point when you're in the box too long, you're going to become frustrated. Because what is a man? I'm still discovering what a man is.
Right.
Every day. Because everyone says this is a man. And even like that perspective, what's a man?
Like we were talking about off camera, and we're going to keep that point, what you were saying.
Yeah.
We were talking about off camera, like how people, like, how do we say that? How do we say it, bro? Man, I'll have to come back to it, man. But it was something right along the lines of what you were saying, and it was good as example, man. But we'll come back to
Gotcha.
it.
Yeah. Being that man, man, it's tough, man. Discovering that every day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's why I was saying how we change every day as people, right?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So, it to your point of like, what is a man? I feel like, as we live, as we experience, I think that definition is good. It can change for some of us on the daily, depending on our experiences.
Depending on your experience, we evolving, we growing, we developing. You going through this mental thing. Yes.
That's crazy.
We forever learning.
Yeah.
We forever learning about what is it being humane. Not man, but humane. What is humane? Right? So, yes, you're right, man. It's evolving.
Yeah, it's life, man. Like we were saying, you'll learn something every day if you pay attention to it.
Pay attention to it, yeah. You got to pay attention. Yeah.
So, all right, that's good deep life stuff. We're gonna switch it. We're gonna switch gears.
Gotcha.
What gave you the idea, or what experience did you go through that made you want to get involved in the consultancy?
Oh man, it was really it was September 1st, 1993. I got injured on the job. I was working at Wonderbird in the CD. I had been here like 2 months. Finally got a job, and I got injured. And man, it was just through that experience of L&I, man, where I felt so much got taken away from me. My mentality, my hustle, my grind, my wanting to work, to where I was constantly having surgeries, going to physical therapy. I remember one time I was going to the Seattle spine sports medicine where all the Sonnets was going. So that's why I was getting on my physical therapy at. And I think over time, man, I just felt like, man, why did I let an employer take away from me something that I basically felt I couldn't get back? And over time, man, when you're losing, man, and you're trying to get ahead, you're trying to get your dignity back, you got family, kids, you ain't got no money, you waiting on a time loss check. I was on welfare, getting food stamps. I remember going down on Othello to the window, right, and having to fill out, remember we used to have to fill out a little paper, and you sit in the line, they call your name, and you sign off for your little check, get your little stamps. I remember that, man, and it just got to a point, man, where I realized, man, that I needed to find a way, man, to make money. Because I was tired of the other way. Right? By this time, it was a spiritual awakening. I had the spiritual awakening, man, 99. I really started, getting involved in a great, healthy relationship. So I think it was at that point, man, that it hit me that it was something in me bigger. And that's when Guiding You for Life got birthed, man. I remember just hearing God say, I've been guiding you all your life. Call it Guiding You for Life. And that's where it started, man. And it was just taking everything I had went through and putting it into a business to help people overcome, man, whatever you want to call it, poverty, education, frustration, gangs, whatever it was. I put all of that into that business. And I wanted to start guiding other people a different way.
That's catchy. I like that, the title too. That's tight. All right, yeah. So tell the people exactly what is Guiding You for Life. Yeah, I know we deal with community consultation. However, just tell the people exactly what it is, though. Like, what do you offer?
Man, it actually started out a nonprofit. I started a Good Shepherd Youth Outreach, and I think one of the things I realized in nonprofit was I didn't want to do what I saw a lot of my leaders did, which started an organization, and was basically going to use the organization to basically create income for myself. So Good Shepherd Youth Outreach was a nonprofit I started, and it really got me into community where I really started seeing what was going on in community. Whether that was Pierce County, King County, Kitsap County, Thurston County, Lewis County, Clark County, whatever county. And I realized was, why am I going to let people take my intellectual property, my human capital, this knowledge and experience I've gone through, and then let them box me into this nonprofit where they're paying other people $5,000 and $10,000 to come in and do trainings, do curriculum, workshops, keynote. And I was like, wait a minute, man, I need to make money too off of this thing I've learned through nonprofit and community mobilization and all these strategies. So that's what I did. I wanted to make sure that I was not going to let people capitalize what I call oppression. Right? And oppress me to where they keep me in the box here to where now I cannot make money for myself and my family. So that's what really got me into that. Because I was watching the nonprofit, how they was really using a lot of brothers to keep them capped out, right? But taking all their intellectual property, human capital, whether that be ideas, strategies, all of that. And then they were capitalizing off of it with grants, federal dollars, county dollars, city dollars.
Because you didn't have the information about it.
Exactly. Yes. So I wanted to make sure that I branded, right? Because even Guiding You for Life, copyrighted it, trademarked it, so that way no one can take it.
Yes, sir.
So and that's business.
Business.
That's all. That's marketing. That's strategy. That's strategic planning, right? You got to know your competitors. So I realized even that I got to do it like business. And put all those things I learned as a kid going to school into a business platform, which is a brand.
An actual structure.
The actual structure of a brand. Yes.
Man. So, upon researching too, I read that your company employs prevention and intervention strategies to develop services. Tell us a few of those strategies and like the services, like that what the services are. Tell me like a few of those strategies and what services that the strategies yields after.
So a lot of people, like I said, do nonprofit, and one of the things I began to see was that a lot of folks was not doing prevention. How do we prevent youth from the school to prison pipeline? How do we prevent youth from dropping out? How do we prevent youth from whatever, violence? And I realized that coming up with prevention strategies is how do we educate, equip, and empower? And what are those strategies to do prevention? Because if I start doing intervention on this side, that's a lot of work. And intervention, we do need to do intervention. But it was really coming up with what are those prevention strategies? One of them is really mentoring. Right? We know that as young men, you and I as brothers, if we have positive males and adults in our lives, a mentor and help us, that's going to help us with prevention, and it's going to intervene on our behalf to help us basically get back on the right path.
True.
So a lot of those strategies helping people understand how do you serve your community, what are the prevention and intervention strategies for this community. So what does this community need?
Yeah, because each community is different, right?
Each community is different. Each community is different, and you got to know that community, which is really knowing those families, knowing those youth, and knowing the infrastructures of that community, whether it be city, county, whatever it is, so you can put the right prevention and intervention strategies that fits the needs of those people. Yes.
Yeah, that sounds like a talent to actually knowing how to allocate.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because you can put... you can't send nobody. You can't send a mechanic to go plumber your toilet.
No, because he's a mechanic. He don't do plumbing.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the things when I really challenged was the greatest assets are in the community, which are the people that live there. And really, how do you build them up? Those folks that live there. A lot of times I've seen, organizations or funders will come in and they feel like they had the answer. No, the answer is in the community.
Right.
You had those individuals there that had, like we talking about, innovative strategies. They just needed the resource, which is the business strategy. So a lot of times I spend time building capacity. It's called capacity building. I love doing capacity building.
Capacity building?
Capacity building. Capacity building is, and it's come from a term I love to say, Kofa bird, right? Which is our African heritage, right? say covert bird is going forward, but not forgetting where I come from, looking back. I have to build capacity in myself so I can build capacity in others. In other words, right now is that offline me, you were talking about some of the things that you wanted to do. That's called capacity building. Hey, Cliff, have you thought about doing this? Have you thought about leveraging this? So we build capacity in others, they can sustain their communities. I come in as a consultant or whatever you want to call me, and I want to build capacity in you. I don't live here. You stay here. So I want to build capacity in you so that you can do the work here. And I support you.
Sort of like investing in that person.
It's like investing in that person. Which that's what we're supposed to do.
True.
Yeah.
Definitely correct about that.
Yes.
That'll better us as a people. We invest in each other.
Come on, man. It's all about investing in others.
Yeah, a lot of us, you know, and it's a fine line too, because we invest we think we're investing in a person, but a lot of times we're actually investing in the idea of that person.
Exactly.
So it's a fine line between that, but you can only know that like by you studying that person.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Which is really helping individuals to know their why. I got to know my why. Right. So even as a person, when someone says, man, I want to start a business, why you want to do this? What's your motive?
Right.
Well, I just want to, why? Like, why you want to do this? And when you know your why, in other words, that's your design, that's your passion, that's your sweet spot. And you won't get tired of it. Like, for instance, you love doing this podcast because you love it. You get something out of this every time you do it, right? So, yes, that's your sweet spot. That's your why. So when people know their why, that's how you sustain it. Because then you can continue to grow, build, be innovative, and get the resources.
You guys hear that? Try to figure out your why.
Yes, your why.
Trying to figure out your why is really important, man, because, you know, we have elder people, we have younger people.
Yeah.
But not, you know, knowing your why is really important because, you know, you have a better idea of your trajectory of where you're going in life if you know your why. You know what I mean? Or if you don't, and honestly, you know, like we just stated, as people we grow and change every day.
Yes.
You know, so you have to stay aware and conscious of your why too, though. Like, you know, because you might decide to be like, you know, something else.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So, which you could start competing, right, for something because you're getting outside of your why, which means you start compromising.
Yeah.
So even if you're saying this is my brand, I want to do this type of business, knowing your why keeps you from compromising and basically competing and conforming to something that has nothing to do with what you started doing.
Yeah.
Now you mad and upset talking about it's because of this. No, it's because you got away from your why, Lou. So really knowing your why helps you to stay in your lane.
Yeah, that's hard.
It's hard, yeah.
Man.
It's hard.
So, I think I did a little research. I did a little research on the growth youth. What was it? The CY. Man, I got it because I'm not good with the acronyms, man.
GSYO?
GSYO.
Yeah, Good Shepherd Youth Outreach, our brothers about business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was doing some research on that page, right? And the perspective you said on the fundamental component of success.
Yeah.
You know, you were saying providing culturally relevant, engaging, and accessible training and development opportunities. Can you expound a little bit upon like the examples of those things? You know what I'm saying? Can you give me like an example of culturally relevant? You know,
okay.
Engaging. You know what I mean?
So right now they're using this word called BIPOC.
BIPOC.
BIPOC. BIPOC.
Okay.
Black Indigenous People of Color. Okay. Now, back in the days, they used to say people of color, which represented black. Okay. Now we go into this thing called BIPOC, Black Indigenous People of Color. So one of the ways I look at culturally relevant is basically if you're working with a black community or a black business owner, do you understand the black thinking? Do you understand how black people think? How black people move? Which is key. So that's a way of culturally relevant. I need to know the culture and knowing the person I'm dealing with. right? So we black men, if you're going to work with a black person, you need to understand the blackness and the culture and how we do things, how we think, how we communicate, how we respond. And that's being culturally relevant, especially when you look at the state of Washington. The state of Washington is about 80% white.
Yeah.
It's 80% white, right? So a lot of the conversations or the strategies that comes from white mainstream culture. And I'm not against whites, but I'm just saying that we're going to be culturally relevant. We talking about equity, inclusion, all these big words you're talking about. We got to be what I call culturally responsive.
Right.
Culturally responsive to know if I'm dealing with someone of color, black, brown, I got to be culturally responsive to know things that I may say from this lens could impact what they're trying to do. So that's just what it is. Really changing the narrative. Yeah. There's a term now called critical race theory.
Critical race
theory, which is a big thing that a lot of people don't really like because it's really talking about the counter narrative. Really, we don't need people telling our stories.
Right.
I can tell my own story.
Right.
I don't need you telling me how I'm thinking. I don't need you telling me how I'm feeling. I don't need you telling me I'm upset. I don't need you to identify when I'm mad. Everybody gets angry. It's just not black. Everyone gets angry. It's an emotion. It's a feeling.
Right.
So I don't need you to identify what I'm dealing with when you don't really know me and know my culture. So those are kind of some of the examples. It's really having real, authentic conversation.
Yeah, this is real authentic conversation because, and a lot of people shy away from these type of conversations, because they don't want to ruffle the wrong feathers.
Exactly.
They don't want to be perceived a certain way by certain people.
Yeah.
And I feel like, me personally, that's an unhealthy way to be living. You know what I'm saying?
It is unhealthy.
I mean, we all walk outside with a mask on to a degree every day.
Most definitely.
But there's a certain level of it too. When you have to compromise who you are as a person, I feel like that's when that can become unhealthy. You know what I mean? Your best friend,
y'all had conflicts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Conflict gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I know if me and you having some disagreement, at some point, where can we dialogue and continue to have the conversation so we can get on the same page? Because I know if me and you have had confrontation, that's testing our relationship.
Yep.
Which means when things get rough, I know we can continue to move and do business, since we talking about business.
Yep.
Because even in business, you're going to have disagreements.
Yep.
You're going to have disagreements. But you got to know, what is our goal? If we're talking about we're going to build this house, let's finish building the house. Let's keep the dialogue and the conversation, but man, we trying to build this house. Mm-hmm. Let's not let conflict get in the way of the business that we started out to do.
Yeah, that can be. Yeah, I definitely agree and understand what you're saying. And it's sad that everybody don't see that, share that perspective. That's why we keep having these little riffs.
These riffs.
It's crazy.
Which is forgiveness. We got to learn how to forgive. Man.
Yeah,
ain't nobody perfect, man. I'm not perfect. I didn't hurt people. I didn't do stuff. But at some point, man, if you just come talk to me and know why I did that or what it was going on. Oh, Lou, I didn't know you was going through that. I didn't know you was having this going on. Yeah, man, so my bad. Oh, okay, I didn't mean to hurt you. Until we get back to that, man, just really sitting down and forgiving each other. And we was talking about that earlier. Having these expectations. Ain't none of us perfect.
At all.
You gonna hurt me, Cliff. I'm gonna hurt you. Mm-hmm. We gotta know that. Mm-hmm. And know that just comes with us being in this world. We coming through the West Atlantic slave trade, our ancestors, all these different things that our ancestors have gone through. We just celebrated 400 years out of slavery in 2019. So we got to understand, man, that a lot of things we carry in us is stuff, man, coming from, man, just our ancestors, man.
Yeah. It's almost, and it's so deep to where it's damn near, you can damn near say it's a part of our DNA. The depth of learned behavior, of trauma that comes from our past.
All is past, man.
And I'm going to use an example, right? Because, it might not even be like a direct correlation, but it's like, as far as like, dealing with past stuff.
Yeah.
That's inherited.
Yes.
I used to get mad about parenting, about my mom's parenting, certain situations, But as I got older, and I understood my grandmother more, then I understand my mother more.
Exactly.
I kind of like expected her to
exactly
teach me some shit that she wasn't even
exactly.
taught. You know what I'm saying? So I learned from that, like, so that stuff that she was learned and taught, she taught to us.
Exactly.
You feel me?
Exactly.
So,
it's passed on.
Yes. So
it's
that correlates with like the treatment that we
all
got
that.
back then, bro.
Exactly.
So,
how we talking to our kids, you know, especially growing up in the South, man. A lot of that, what they were doing, came out of slavery.
mm-hmm.
You know, and I remember my dad telling me one time. He says, you know, I was probably about 19, 18, and he says, "You judging me, but until you become a man, you won't understand what's really going on." And I think when I turned about 25, 26, I called my dad and said, "Dad, I get it." Mm-hmm. He said, "Son, you got to understand a man." So you're right. My dad was not giving love. Mm-hmm. My mom was not giving love, right? My grandma was not giving that love. Now, love was given, right? But I'm talking about
not the way you want
exactly.
Yeah.
So you have to realize that. I tell my kids, all my kids, you got to understand is that a lot of things that was passed down is learned behaviors that we're just basically doing based on what we were taught. Mm-hmm. But we got to know at some point, man, you have to, what I call, break. You have to be one that wants to be a history maker mm-hmm. and a curse breaker. Hmm. One first to do history maker and a curse breaker.
Man, now you guys can listen to that quote right there and apply that to your life. A history maker
and a curse breaker.
And a curse breaker. Because a lot of times, as he's saying, you know, we're living and taught like the things that our parents and people know. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes somebody have to break the cycle.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
You got to break the cycle.
You know, so yeah, man.
And I think even with the business thing, man, that was the thing that I think I really was like, you know what? I want to be the first, a pioneer, to show my kids, all my kids, that you know what? I'm going to fight. I'm going to make these sacrifices for y'all. So that way you could say, you know what? If my dad did that, I can do that. And that's what we want. We just need somebody to be the first. Mm-hmm. To do something that's never been done, go against all the norms of what people say you can't do, all of that, and just make it happen. Now, I'm talking about 10 years later, right? Mm-hmm. 11 years later. But I'm saying back then it was like, I'm thinking about the next generation that I'm responsible for. Mm-hmm. That needs to step on my shoulders. And that's what it really was about.
And I agree with that sentiment. Yeah, because I'm going to give you an example, like, for me personally, and I ain't even sharing this story to be, like, bragging or wanting no applause or nothing like that, but, like, you remember when we were going to school?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm the first person on my grandma, my mom's mom, I'm the first person on her side of the family to get a college degree, bro.
The first.
But I knew that going into it, though.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like my motivation. You know, I had a little cliff around that
Exactly.
time. Exactly. He's like, he's old. He's going to school. So when we're doing our homework together.
Exactly.
You know, but I knew that going into it, and I wanted to be that curse changer.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I definitely share that sentiment with you right there, man. Because, like you said, we be one somebody to look an example.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Just an example. Like, why should I go to school when you ain't going to school? Mm-hmm. And you think about it, man. I didn't see a lot of people that really went to school, right? Because my dad, man, was just telling me this last week. And my dad now getting to a point now where he's really starting to give me all these stories. I'm like, oh, okay, he never said that. But he told me, he said as early as he was 7 years old, he was working in the field with my granddad.
7?
7 years old.
Wow.
Picking pecans.
Wow.
50 cents a bag.
I know what that's like.
And he did 50 cents a day so he could make $2.50 a week. $2.50 a week picking pecans. He said when he got to high school, Captain Shreve High School, he said he was so stressed out in high school until he got ulcers.
Damn.
So my grandma used to have to come pick him up from school. In high school, he was a junior. My dad said he didn't complete. He went to the Marines, and that's where he got his diploma. In the Marines. In the Marines. That's where he finished his high school diploma. But even that, just education sometimes does bring a lot of stress on us because of what's happened in history. Mm-hmm. And so, but pushing through it, man, is always key. But And I tell you, man, a lot of people understand I do better in education when it's kinesthetic, hand on. I like project-based learning.
Okay.
Where I can see it, use my hands, and I can put it together. Yeah.
You're one of those.
Yeah, I'm one of those.
Yeah. Hands on.
Hands on.
Yeah. I think I'm like that in certain little situations.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm always willing to learn.
Always willing to learn, yes. Always willing to learn.
Man, so talking about that, right? Do your company follow like a certain blueprint or like a certain model or anything to deliver your services?
Man, here's the deal. I tell people consistency, consistency. Number one. Number two is integrity. Number three is character and accountability. That's the model I follow. Man, you can have a great company, you can have sales, but at the end of the day, if you ain't consistent, if you ain't got no accountability, you don't have integrity, you don't have character, and people don't really know you, it really is irrelevant. And that's just what I follow, man. It's just, at the end of the day, I want people to know that I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. You ain't got to worry about me doing nothing funny. Because a lot of times I say this, man, people will sign contracts and don't really know what that means.
Right.
When you sign a contract, that's a contract. People don't care about, oh, you wasn't feeling good, your employee or your person didn't show up. At the end of the day, you sign a contract, and that is your name. My granddad always told me, your name is more important than credit. Now, we know that was the old folks back then. Credit is important, but your name is important. You want people to know your name.
Yeah.
And that's just pretty much what it is, man. I've lived on that. That's always been something that's helped me to be sustainable. It's just people know, man, Lou gonna do the right thing. And that's just it.
So that model, it works the way it intended.
It works intended to do, because that's what I saw my granddad do. It was like, he was always a man of his word. He did what he said he was going to do. He showed up, and that was it. So, and I'm not saying, now there's a lot of best practices I look at, best practices. I do research. But at the end of the day, me as a person, that's what it all comes back to. That whole foundation of those things. Yep.
You touched on your granddad a couple times.
Yeah.
How was your granddad, man?
Man, my granddad's funny, man. They used to tell me that I was a lot like him when I was younger. But my granddaddy, I would really say, man, really taught me how to serve people. Serve people. My granddaddy's house was his business, was his church, was his, I would say, community outreach. My granddad had 2 basketball goals in the backyard where he let the kids come in there who didn't want to be at the park because of what was going on in the park, right?
Okay.
A lot of activities going on in the park. My granddad lived on 81st, which was 79th Street Park. Right? Actually, in 1988 when we had a riot, if you look it up right now, 1988 we had a riot in Cedar Grove. That's right by my grandparents' house. So my granddad really taught me how to serve people. And that's why I learned it from. I saw how he served people. I saw he cared about people. I even saw how my granddaddy used to take bread down. We lived in Shreveport, but he used to go down to like Coshada in the country and take bread on Sunday to all these kids and families. So I learned a lot from my granddad.
Community.
Being around community, man. He loved community. He sold in the community. I remember my grandfather passed, man, at his funeral. It was lines of people that came and talked about how he helped them to become who they are. My dad, who retired from a company, was there almost 30 years because my grandfather told him, don't go work for the big companies, work for the small company. So my grandfather was a great teacher. He really taught. He was an example. And that's really what I really saw as a kid. My grandfather.
Yeah, it seems like he made a good impact on your life, man. Because like I said, through the course of this interview, you mentioned it like 2 or 3 times, so I had to get a little bit about his background to know, or you know, to get a better understanding of you as well.
Yeah, man, my granddaddy, man.
Yeah, it sounded like a great man.
Yeah, he was, man.
Yeah.
Great man. He impacted the community, and I remember times, man, the mayor used to come to his house, and my granddad used to tell him the truth. She would police. My granddaddy worked with the gang members. Like, he would sit there, come there, and he'd say, man, I need y'all to chill out with that. These kids out here playing. I need y'all to stop doing that so these kids can play in the street. So my granddaddy was highly respected in the community.
And he was respected.
He was respected, he was loved, and he was appreciated because he took care of his community. I mean, we did volleyball games on Sundays, softball. He would take everybody out to eat. I seen my granddaddy would go and basically buy people parts for their cars so they can get to work. My granddaddy even helped bring a bus transportation through the community so that people didn't have to walk all the way to Linwood to get on the bus. So he made sure people can get on the bus to get to work.
Wow.
All those things I seen him do, man, and model. So
that's a real philanthropy work.
yes, he was doing philanthropy work. My grandfather was doing philanthropy. He was doing community economic development. He was doing human services. He was doing intervention. He was doing family engagement. He was your pastor. He was your mentor. He was your coach. That's who he was. So I seen him wear all these hats, and that was really my greatest, I would say, mentor, my grandfather.
And you know, I wanted him to share, some of this about his grandfather, right? Because it is sad to say, but we don't hear too many stories. A lot of stories these days about great, wholesome men.
Yes.
I mean, when I say men, I mean grown men.
Yeah.
You don't hear too many stories of those. So I really wanted him to go into depth on what type of man his grandfather was, and that's good, man.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys get some food out of that and get a better idea of what a man is supposed to be. If you're a man, you gotta be 100% man and don't be having these little boyish, childish ways.
Temper tantrums.
Yeah, because I see a lot of people. I be seeing them on social media in real life too. These guys they select when they want to be a man.
Most definitely. Yeah.
You can't select when you want to be a man and be a hoodlum or whatever else on the back end. You know what I mean?
Man, there's so many men, and even speaking of my grandfather, I've seen a lot of men that left the community and moved out of the community. They didn't stay there and work with the young men. And to your point, a lot of men done left the communities because they're looking for this, life is green on the other side. I want to get away from all this chaos and these kids and they ain't doing nothing. And it's like at the end of the day, we need more men in the village to help these young men. I can feel a lot of these young men and young brothers, man, going through because I'll be honest with you, I probably got 3 men I could count on in my life to this day. In my life, I got 3 men I can count on.
Wow.
So when we talking about a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 30-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 19-year-old, how many men they got that they can really count on to even teach the things me and you talking about today? Yeah, so I get it. We got to really look at our village. We got to look at our village, man. And where are the men, the generation before me and you, where they at?
Yeah.
Where they at, man?
I can't even.
We can't even think about it.
I know mine ran out on me. You know what I mean? He moved out of town on me, and I ain't heard nothing from him for years until I get word he passed.
And then think about it. Where did that come from? Slavery. Fathers would come in, be with his family. He got to go to another plantation. He leave. Now the mother was with it. So a lot of that, going back to that intergenerational thing. And I'm not saying it's something that, we don't do or ain't justifying it. But a lot of this is that a lot of men found themselves trying to find their identity because their identities got torn. You getting beat. You seeing your dad get beat. You seeing your grandfather get beat. Now that puts something in you to where now you feel like, man, who am I? So a lot of men were trying to find themselves. Who am I?
Obviously as the years go, you grow older.
Yeah.
And it wasn't too long after he had passed, I found it in myself to forgive him and not even be holding on to it, because whatever his reasons were, and I don't even.
We don't know the whole story, man.
I just know, I'm grateful he brought me in, he brought me in this world.
Exactly.
And I just leave it at that.
And that's what we have to do, because I don't know the whole story, man. Yeah. I don't know the whole story of why people do what they do.
Yeah.
But I know why I ended up being a father that could have been seen as, oh, he left me. But a lot of time as a man, you're trying to find out who you are and what's going on, and you dealing with that pain, and you just trying to figure out, man, how do I bounce back? And it's hard, man.
How do I
bounce back?
That, and because that push you back, it puts you back to that one word we was talking about earlier, trying to figure out your fucking why.
My why.
You know what I'm saying?
Why did this happen?
And that's not a place you want to be.
No, you don't want to be in that. Why am I here? Why did this happen? Why am I hustling? Why am I trying to do this? You're trying to figure out your why, which is, why am I here? And that's where you have to be one that wants to be the first history breaker and curse breaker. History maker and curse breaker.
Yeah. That's deep.
Which is your motivation to why you want to change the narrative.
This is healthy conversation because as we keep talking, all this shit correlates and ties in. Because we go back to, Israel is good, man. A business question, real quick, like as far as the guiding you for life, what were the first 5 things you did to create that business?
Oh man, the first 5 things I did was, first of all, I had to fill out a business application, number 1.
Business
application. Right, I had to do that to actually figure out what I want to form it as. What type of business? I already told you I didn't want to do nonprofit. I was tired of nonprofit. So I looked at what are the different businesses that I can establish. Sole proprietor, LLP, and then I started doing research and I realized LLC, which is limited liability company. That was the first one. Did my business license, did the application, got an EIN number, UBI number. I think around the next part, business account, right? Because you got to have a business account. And then next was, okay, I need to have some type of marketing, whether that be website, just something with some information, whether that be website, email, phone number. So it was just them basic things that I started with. And then I just got out and started building relationships. That's talking to people.
That's key.
Networking. Like, man, let me go over here to this event. Let me go meet these people. And I passed out probably thousands of cards. And I tell people, a no means yes. Because the minute you say, oh man, they told me no and you quit, that next door might be open for a yes. And I kept on, man, just planting seeds. I tell you, in business, you got to plant seeds. It's really about planting seeds. And when you plant seeds, eventually, man, God's going to water it and you're going to get a harvest. So it's really, man, just staying with it, believing in it, knowing that this is what you want to do, and really creating a niche that no one else has. That's the key thing. I want to do something that I knew somebody else, because I kind of watched a lot of trends and what everybody else was doing, and I was like, I want to be different. I want to do something different. So even the name, Guiding You for Life, represented me.
Yeah.
Which came from a slave name. Guiding is French. It's Goudin, it's French.
Goudin?
Goudin,
okay.
Yeah, French. So even that was like, okay, this is branding. So it was just those basic things I did, man, and it evolved, and I began to do a lot of going to conferences, investing in conferences to go and learn from other people in other states on what are some different things I can do. So it's really investing in yourself too. You've got to invest in yourself. You're learning, listening to other people, putting your ego down, and letting other people show you how to do your business.
I tell people, man, hey man, when you that's fucking important, bro. Like, cause you have to invest in yourself. If don't, man, people are not gonna cause I'm speaking for me.
Yeah.
I'm not finna invest $1 into nobody who's not even putting 25 cents into themselves.
Come on, man. Gotta invest in yourself.
Cause you just can't come up to me trying to sell me on your words. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, you gotta show me some steps or some progress you done made too. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So that's how it is. You gotta be. You can't be scared to invest in yourself, man. Especially like if you the type of person you do the things you like to do things the way you like to do them.
Yep.
Invest in yourself, man.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the one who runs the show is the one who's cutting the check.
Come on now.
Not the one with the fancy title.
Yeah.
You know, your supervisor, your manager. You know, the one who run the show is the one who cutting the check.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm trying to. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to cut some checks.
Hey, we all trying to cut checks.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the perspective you gotta have, man, when it comes to investing in yourself.
And even on that cutting checks is that even when you're doing your business, people want to see that you know how to run your business right.
Mm-hmm.
That you're doing your payroll taxes. I had to learn all that. What's payroll taxes? What's L&I insurance? Unemployment insurance? You know, all those things are key aspects of when people are cutting a check to your company. They want to know that you're doing everything right with the money.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a key thing, which speaks to integrity. Like, you want people to know that you're doing right by the money that's in that company.
It makes them feel secure.
Oh, they feel secure, and they want to do more business with you, right? And sometimes people will test you. You know, they might say, you know what? I remember, man, when I first started, I used to go to Green Hill down in Chehalis, and no contract. I was going down there, man, and they watched me really coming in because my heart was about helping those young men. And eventually, they say, you know what? We want to give you a contract. So sometimes, man, you have to show people that you are serious about your business. And that you're there because you want them to see that you will show up. Because I was showing up every week, twice a week, driving all the way from Federal Way to Chehalis, they was like, you know what, he's serious. We want to invest in him. So sometimes people, you got to know that you got to show people that you are worth the investment. You're going to be there. And then eventually, man, people say, you know what, I want to give you opportunity.
And to add on to that, too, about opportunity, you have to be able to identify opportunity when there's no check attached to it initially, too.
Most definitely.
You know?
Yeah.
Because, you know, when I was younger, man, I missed out on a few opportunities, man, because there wasn't a check attached to it right up front.
Yeah.
And I look back and I said, oh, man, you can't move like that. You know what I mean? You gotta change that, man.
No. Guiding You for Life got started in 2010. It didn't really evolve into, I would say, a company, really, until about 4 years ago, technically. Like, I'm going to say, like, probably 2015, 2016, because I had to put a lot of time in, because I had a lot of competitors.
Yeah.
I had people that had been doing it a long time, way before me.
So you had to build your reputation.
I had to build my reputation and say, I'm here because, you know, not for the money. Because a lot of you, right, people weren't going to give you no money. And I tell you, a lot of times people are not going to give you money out the back. You have to know, okay, they told me no, but maybe I could do it with this, so they can see that I'm really good, and then now I can bid higher to actually get what I want for my service.
Nice.
So I had to really underbid sometimes just to get in the door, and then over time they said, okay, he really does do a good service. Then you're able to bid more. So it takes time. Growing a company, business, non-profit takes time, and you got to put in. It's like, man, being in you got to grind. You got to get behind that mule. You got to get behind that ox. And you got to work the field.
Yeah. So in order to even use any strategy like that, you have to know that company first.
Yes, you got to know the company. You got to know your company, and you got to know your brand.
But that comes with putting in time.
And that comes in putting in time of really going through the heartaches, the disappointments, the setbacks. And then you're able to learn from that. So I tell people, don't trip out about setbacks. Oh, I messed up. So what, man? A righteous man falls 7 times, get back up. Man, get back up, keep moving. What did you learn from that? So it's learning. It's called a learning curve. We all go through this learning curve, and that's a part of life. Don't beat yourself up. Don't look at the past. And I tell people, don't look at the past. Look forward.
They will discourage you sometimes.
Oh, it's discouraged because you beating yourself up. Oh, I messed up. I didn't do this. I should have had that. Man, keep moving forward. And that's what you got to do. Keep moving forward.
Because what's for you is going to come for you.
Oh, if it's for you, it's for you. What God has for you is for you.
Word.
And that's it.
Yeah.
What God has for you is for you.
Yeah. And as people, we have to know that too, because sometimes we try to rush the process of things. You know, sometimes we try to, just do a whole bunch of things that really just distract us and deviate us from the main goal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't be doing that, man.
And that's really knowing your circle too, to your point, because when you're starting a business, you got to have the right people around you.
Yeah.
That keeps you on task and not pull you away from what you setting your goals to be. Your circles have to be small. I'm just honest. You can't have a whole bunch of people. Your circles got to be small, and you have to really have the right people around you that's healthy.
That want to see you win.
That want to see you
just as much as you or more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what you want, right? You want people around you that basically see the vision and can say, well, man, I want to be a part of this. And that goes back to the capacity building, because at the end of the day, if I remember back in the days when we used to say, okay, man, we got Kool-Aid. And we break it down like this. If I had the sugar, you had the pitcher, John had the water, we had Kool-Aid. Because all of us played a big part in it.
Big part.
A big part in it.
Yeah.
So your circle got to be right. That's going to add to what you're doing, and it's going to complement what you're doing. Because just know jealousy going to come in, envy going to come in, all that's going to come in. And it's not that people are bad. Just know that's darkness. Yeah. It's not even people. That's just darkness coming in, trying to keep us from moving forward. So you got to know, man, at all times, you got to know who's around you, what's going on. I tell people, man, you really got to be spiritually grounded.
You do, man.
You got to be spiritually grounded in this work.
You do, man.
That's what has helped me, man, being spiritually grounded, man, making sure I'm hearing God, I'm praying, having accountability with people. Because there's two type of no's. There's N-O, and there's K-N-O-W. There's a lot of people that know me, K-N-O-W, right? But there's a lot of people that N-O me, which is no, Lou, you're not supposed to be doing that. No, that's wrong. So you need those type of people in your lives, which is really going to help you see your blind spots.
Yeah, that's deep right
Yeah.
there. Because it's definitely important.
It's important,
It's
man.
a dynamic you definitely have to take into consideration.
Because we don't know everything.
Yeah, at all. You know, and you can kind of like tell the people who do, because you can tell just by the success of their company, like when they running stuff by themselves. But yeah, man, I'm the type. I know I need a team as well. You know, but I know it's gonna come when it's supposed to happen for me. So I don't try to put too much thought or rush that either. You know, but I am aware of that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Because we can do things premature, to what you're saying.
Yeah, man.
We can move prematurely too fast, and it's not time. Yeah.
Because we ain't got nobody to help us and see the blind spots.
Exactly. So yeah, man, having good teachers, man, is key.
Yeah, that's all this stuff is good stuff to take into consideration when you're talking about running a business of any sort, because like, you know, just as much as the business is about numbers, it's also about a whole lot of other little nuances within the business that you're gonna need to know how to maneuver and be successful in business, you know.
Yeah. And you really have to define what is success.
Yeah, that's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, because what is success? Success for you may be different than what my success is, right? And really, you have to define what success is, not what somebody else's success is. So you really got to know what you call as for success for you. For instance, real talk, next month will be July 8th, be 21 years I've been married. That's success for me. That's success.
That's something to be successful.
That's something to say, man, I'm being successful at being married almost 21 years. That's success. Some people are but that's my success.
Because you know the other side.
I know the other side. I know the history and the patterns of what I've seen as a child. Right? So that's success for me. That may be someone's success. Part of their story.
Yeah.
So you have to define what success is for you.
Yeah, and you know, like you said, once you're able to, you know, identify with that, you know, I feel like, you know, a person is less likely to grow a lot more gray hairs.
Come on, all that gray, man. Gray hairs, man.
The stress won't be as, you know.
Come on, man.
Man. So for us, the youth service outreach program, right? What was the first 5 things you did to start that company?
Same thing, man. 501c3, 1023 form, establish a board, you know. And really, man, that was birthed out of me just really angry with I'm going to say God, the church. Because and it goes back to my grandfather. The way I seen how he did things, I kind of had this expectation of that's what I was going to get from my leaders as I was growing as I would say, young servant, minister, whatever words you want to use. So Good Shepherd Youth Outreach was birthed out of that pain. And when I started it, man, I realized that I didn't want to start a church. I want to start a nonprofit. But I remember, man, as a kid, I wanted shepherds to come and get me from the sheep, from the wolves. So Good Shepherd Youth Outreach is really about being a shepherd to gather sheep to keep them from the wolves. And it was the same thing. Nonprofit is still business. You got to do your paperwork, 1023 forms. You got to get an EIN, your tax exempt status, set up an account. Same thing.
And that's good you said that too, because I think a lot of people they're misinformed about that as well.
Yeah, most definitely.
When they hear nonprofit, they kind of like categorize that as like not being a business.
No, it is a business.
So it's good that you specified.
Yeah, you still got to pay. Oh, it's nonprofit, tax exempt. But if you have employees, you still have to pay taxes. Nonprofit is, what I love about nonprofit is that, and a lot of people may not, and I tell folks a lot of times, starting a nonprofit is not your company. That's a public entity. You have to do 990s. You got to do your 941s. You got to do your books, all of that stuff. But remember, all of the proceeds don't go to individuals. It's for the mission of that nonprofit.
See, you're informing me too right now.
Now, there are some nonprofits that buy property. There's nonprofits that have endowment funds. There's nonprofits that have millions of dollars. But no one individually can profit from it like a company, right? You got profit margins, sales. So a nonprofit is still, you pay yourself a salary if you are a staff. You still have operation costs just like a business. However, no one can gain personally from the nonprofit. In other words, if the nonprofit buys a van, that's not your van. That's the nonprofit van. You can't use it for personal stuff. Oh, on the side, I'm going to run Uber, Amazon. No, that's the nonprofit. Now, if you're doing it for the nonprofit to generate revenue, for the nonprofit to generate operation dollars, it's all legal. Good. So it's just a fine line when you're dealing with the nonprofit, because that's government, that's IRS.
Right.
So I had to learn a lot about nonprofit, what it was, which really is why I kind of stopped nonprofit when we started in 2008. I stopped around 2011 because there was a lot of things I didn't know, and I had to kind of restructure. Yeah.
Man, you sound knowledgeable at this stuff, man. We might have to get you back here on some nonprofit information.
Yeah.
Just distinguishing the difference between the two.
It's a difference, man.
Because I feel like that would be beneficial to some viewers too, man, because a lot of people don't know. Like I just said, you know, what I said about the nonprofit, a lot of people just don't know.
No, there's a lot of stuff I didn't know.
Yeah.
You know, I had to learn, and I had to sit down. It goes back to, I had to let people teach me. So it's sometimes you got to know when to stop doing something and when to start doing something. You got to know when to stop and when to start. So yeah, nonprofit, man, I love nonprofit, but it's a lot of competition. Got to compete.
Yeah.
A lot of competing.
I can imagine.
Yeah. They put money out there and everybody running. It's almost like a shark. You putting blood in the water and here come the sharks. So they put that money out there, and if it's 10 or 15 nonprofits, it just creates so much competition because everybody needs that money to sustain their 501c3.
Now, what's the C3?
501c3 is pretty much a tax exempt status. It's kind of a code they give you through the IRS.
Okay.
C3, yeah.
Man.
Government came up with it. I don't even know what C3 is, man. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go research it since you asked. That's a good question. What is C3? You don't even know what C3 is.
Hey, man, that's what we down on.
That's the government, man. It's 501c3. IRS, man. Internal Revenue Service, yeah.
Let me see here. I got a couple more questions for you, man.
Go ahead, man.
So yeah, you guys are you offer educational services, school resources, right?
Yes.
Detail on that. Give me some examples. Tell me about like what kind of educational services and resources that you.
Well, I think one of the biggest impacts of my life was education.
Education.
And that's what really hit. I remember in second grade they closed down all our black schools.
Huh?
Yeah, I was in second grade. They shut down all our black schools and they bust us out to the suburbs, a white community. And I was in third grade.
That's kind of like when that busing.
That whole busing thing and all that, right? And I remember, man, just where it got different because when you going from your community, black, you seeing, the cafeteria lady lives in your community. Mm-hmm. She know you. She know your grandmama. You see the teacher. And then you go to a white community, it was different. Mm-hmm. And that broke me. And it really began to create this trend of, man, you know what? I am stupid. I am uneducated. I can't learn. And I think as I got older, man, and I started looking at this whole thing about school to prison pipeline, I started looking at the patterns of what happened as early as 4th grade with me. And when most of us got to 6th grade, most of my partners and friends that were smart, these guys were smart, were incarcerated in juvenile detention. So when I started really looking at education, I realized it was a pattern. And what I found was that in education, because a lot of black boys and a lot of black girls don't see their own people educating them. So I realized that I needed to help, once again, the white mainstream education in the state of Washington understand how to work with our children. Mm-hmm. How can you come in a classroom and create a different environment, number one, to where when they come in, they see you, they see someone look like them, and it's like, they're curious now, like, what are you doing here? Oh, I'm here, I'm teaching this class, or I'm here to help you. Mm-hmm. And the second part of that was, how do you create relevant curriculum that speaks to the kids where they can see themselves? So in the education thing, man, I had to disrupt and dismantle this system of oppression that was pushing kids into the school to prison pipeline. The school is the pipeline. It pushes them in because it's a pipeline. So I got in and wanted to dismantle it and disrupt it. So you had to go in, man. You had to challenge teachers on how they talking to kids, how they looking at kids, how they think they know parents. You don't know that, mother. No one never came to my mama's house to check on my mom. All the white teachers talking bad about my mom. They never came to my neighborhood to know what was going on. They never came to understand that my mom and dad was going through a divorce. But they talked about my mom.
As if they knew
the whole story. Yeah. So when you got teachers talking about a kid or a young black girl, young black boy, have you ever been to their neighborhood? So you will step foot into this school, but you haven't stepped foot into their neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So that's why really education became key of teaching and trying to just really give a different lens to teachers. Mm-hmm. About, you don't know that kid. How can he come in the classroom with us as black men, sit down, do what he's supposed to do? That lets you know that if you hire more black teachers, right, this would change the schools. The problem is we don't need to hire more black teachers. We need to retain the ones we already hired. Because if black teachers are going to college, coming in, they want to teach their kids, why are they leaving education? Right. Because it's still oppression. Because they can't liberate their own black kids in those white school districts. So that's how we got to that, man. Yeah, man. DEI work. And it's hard, man. You're constantly trying to tear this thing down, man, because education system makes money off our kids.
Yeah, they do, too.
A lot of money's in education.
Just like penitentiary make money off
penitentiary, prison industrial, private industrial complex, same prison industrial complex, same thing.
Because like you said, it's actually a pipeline.
It's a pipeline.
Yeah, like
it's a
starting
pipeline.
off when kids are young.
Come on, man.
You know what I'm saying?
It starts off.
Yeah.
And when a kid is illiterate as early as 4th grade, come on, man, we already know the trajectory that is. Illiteracy builds your self-esteem. When you can count, add, read, articulate, hold your head up, have your self-esteem, know your self-worth, come on, man, you see the world different. You don't have your head down. You feel empowered like, man, I'm somebody. So what it's doing is breaking our kids.
For sure. By design.
By design, which is oppression.
Yeah.
It happened in slavery. So that's why we got into the education piece. And it's a lot of people I know doing education work. But it's hard, man. And a lot of the contracts don't even go to us. Oh yeah, you have to fight, man, for the when you talking about the education system. Oh yeah, you got to fight for them contracts,
bro. It sounds like you had to knock down some doors.
Oh man, I'm still knocking down doors.
Yeah, like it's interesting because we talked.
Yeah.
I would have never imagined that you, like, first of all, I didn't know, like, the details, how deep of the work you do, right?
Yeah.
So, for me to be interviewing you, to hear that, and then on top of that, to hear some of the things you had to endure, and still are enduring,
Yes.
I find it interesting at the same time. I find it courageous and inspirational.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
Thank
saying?
you, brother.
Because that's definitely needed within our communities. You know what I'm saying? And it just needed. The world just needs people like that. Period.
Yes,
man. But especially our communities.
Come on,
because we tend to lack in certain areas, and that being one of them.
Yes, man.
So, bro, I appreciate you for doing the work you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because I feel like, you definitely make a difference. You're making a difference in somebody's life.
Hey, man, that's what it's all about, man. I think Martin Luther King said that when he died, his eulogy, man, he says, I don't want you to talk about all the Nobel prizes I want. He said, if I can touch somebody and help somebody along this journey, then my living wasn't in vain. It's really about, man, how do you help somebody else? How me being there is helping you and encourage you and build you up and say, oh man, I can do this too. And that's really what it's about. I see my life as just really almost like a sacrifice, man, to help others and say, man, you can do it too. But you got to continue to fight.
Yeah.
To fight for faith. It's really faith, man. This is a journey of faith. You got to continue to have your faith. You got to continue to believe. You got to continue to know, man, it's going to work. But only when I quit, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I share that perspective, even when it comes to the podcasting, bro.
Yeah.
Because, I sat down and had a long talk with myself before even starting the podcast. I said, look at here, man. I know this has the potential to be a timely, long journey.
Yeah.
But at this, like, I'm going to do it.
Yep.
Yep. And I don't anticipate stopping no time soon.
Nope.
But at the same time, I'm like, I had to adopt that perspective, as far as, it's only going to fail when you quit doing it.
That's it. It's the only way it's going to fail. When you stop doing it, it's going to fail.
And I like doing it, just like, I just like doing it, bro, And as my audience get bigger, I get to having different type of people come on here. I feel like the platform is going to really be able to help change some people's lives, and that's what I keep my eye on, the big picture, like, so I don't let all the small distractions in the middle distract me or, discourage me.
Man. Never despise small beginnings.
Yeah.
What I'm sharing with you now, man, you said it, man. It's been a lot of disappointments, a lot of pain, a lot of frustration, a lot of losses. Sometimes, man, people ain't gonna believe in your vision. But I had to keep going.
Yeah, it's crazy because I talk to some people, and it's just a conversation about the podcast. Pop up, and I'll share a couple of ideas, and you can just hear people's response and who's for you and who's not.
That's just what it is, man. Yeah.
So I know what you're saying when it comes to that, man.
Man, just in us, man.
You gotta stay going, though.
You gotta keep moving. And sometimes that was my motivation. Like, okay, you know what? Good. I don't need to rely on people anyway. I need to rely on God and myself.
Right.
And that's really what it comes down to. I realized, man, I couldn't rely on people because people are going to fail me.
Bro. And
I have to honestly know that. People will fail you.
The close ones, too, a lot of times.
Oh, man, it's always the people around you. Because we already know, man, the enemy always going to use the people closest to you to try to bring you down because they're the closest to our heart. Right? So I got to know people going to fail you. They are people. They're human.
Yeah.
And I just got to keep moving and say, all right, man, it's cool. And you have to know who to share your vision with, too.
Right.
You got to know who to share your vision with.
That's the part I'm learning the hard way, because I be hearing them certain responses, like how they respond.
Yeah.
Can't talk
You
to
be
you
like,
no
okay,
more.
all right, all right, cool. We'll talk about this. We'll do this. But sometimes business, when you're doing, and I tell people, personal, keep everything personal. Business is business. Mm-hmm. You can't mix personal with business. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can't, man.
No.
Be out your feelings.
Your feelings. You're all in your feelings. You're right.
Question. So, like I said, though, the last question, right? You said the educational services or school resources. So, to make sure that I'm clear, a person could they get both of those services, or are they just restricted to get one of those services when they?
Oh, so what I do is mainly I build those services into infrastructures of other nonprofits and or the school system. Okay. So what I do is say, okay, school system, you need a in-school mentoring model. So what I do is everything I've learned is I help them to build a intervention, prevention strategy in the school. Mm-hmm. So then I would say, hey, well, you have this nonprofit in the community, right? They know these kids. How about you bring them into the school? I've shown you kind of what you can do. Mm-hmm. So that's the capacity building. Okay. I go in, dismantle, disrupt it, to show them that it works. Mm-hmm. All along, I'm looking for that Cliff in the community. Say, hey, I know Cliff. He lives in this community. How about we bring Cliff in to do the work? Mm-hmm. So that's what I do. I go in, dismantle, tear it down, and then so it's sustainable. It's folks that live in that community that know those kids. So I really expose them to, because sometimes people only trust certain people to come in.
Right.
And as black people, that's when we got to know. It's not about me trying to sustain it. It's about how do I build capacity for somebody else to come in and do it. And not be worrying about, I want the attention, I want the credit.
Right.
I want those kids to have a sustainable program or something. So that's what I do. So they need additional training. I may come in and do one aspect, and then I'll say, hey, here's this other company or somebody else can come in and do more of this. So that's kind of what I do.
That's interesting, bro, because like you said, you're dismantling, you're showing them their hand, but at the same time, you're offering a solution.
Yes, to sustain it. Yeah, because I can come in, and this is what I realize is that even as a consultant, I don't want you to keep paying me to keep coming back, to keep doing the same training. And you have some people do that.
I was about to say that.
That speaks to the character. So I'm not going to come in and know that I can just eat off this for 6, 7, 8, 2 years, knowing that you really need something to sustain it, and I'm just going to keep eating. Yeah. No, I'm going to come do this for this. We're going to put this budget here, and this budget going to go here, and then this budget going to go here. You have to know your character and your integrity.
That's good. I appreciate that character, man, because I know a lot of people, that would be the opportunity.
Oh, man, everybody's trying to eat. I mean, you think sometimes I don't want to say, oh, man, I can really, I can do. And it's like, that's when that conviction comes in and say, Lewis, this is not your why. Your why is to come in and do this and to build capacity in others.
I like how you brought it back to the why.
Yes, my why. Why am I here?
Man. So, leadership development, right? You offer and teach that. What? Give me some examples of that. Like, how do you coach your people to be better leaders?
Man, everything is really about leadership. I mean, how do you influence others? Leadership is my influence, but I need to know myself. So one of the biggest things is that I'm actually putting together, man, some powerful leadership development training. One is self-leadership. How do you become a self-leader? What are those aspects of self-awareness, who you are, what do you need, what are your fears, doubts, hopes, all those things, and actually helping people to really get back to knowing who you are. We all leaders. Cliff, you are a leader. You have influence. I have influence. And it's really how do we help people to see that they are a leader, right? The second part of that is, the biggest part of this is servant leadership. Because when you know who you are, how do you serve others? So yes, man, leadership is the key. Helping a teacher, a principal, administrator, probation officer, pastor, mother, father, young man. It's all about leadership, because that's really what I wanted. Teach me leadership. And I go back to my grandfather. That's what he was teaching me, leadership. He was teaching me how to lead at a young age. This is how you lead people. This is how you show up. This is how you establish your brand. So it's really about leadership. How do we influence others? But we got to know ourselves.
Yeah, you're right too.
And that's the biggest work.
And and I feel like people, you gotta be willing to accept that role too.
Man, you gotta be willing to accept it, brother.
Because if you ain't willing to accept it, you accept it because you're forced to. You're gonna lead somebody to destruction.
Say that again. Because a lot of people are forced to step in leadership, and that's what I love to do is help people understand is that first of all, you got to make sure that you are called to lead others, because what you just said, you can lead people into destruction because you're influencing people. You think about it, a young man is going to listen to the big homie because he's his leader. He's influencing him. But we have to be careful that we're not leading people into destruction.
Yeah. That's why when it comes to like talking about certain topics, or I like if I'm not knowledgeable about it, I'm not even gonna say nothing because I don't want to, I don't want to give nobody no misinformation.
Exactly. And they listening because they're hungry.
Yeah.
So when someone is hungry for information, and I'm having this so-called influence, they may take that and go do it. Like, oh man, you should start a nonprofit. Oh, for real? Nah, hold on, man. Let's sit down first. Because there's some things I want you to know. First of all, let's look at your leadership. Are you ready to lead? Can you lead others? Do you understand what starting a business or a nonprofit means? That means you're going to have to lead others. And that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a burden.
It definitely is, bro.
It's a burden, man. So, yeah, just leadership, man. Leadership development is key, man. Yes.
Yeah, I like how you tied it. You made it all correlate, the whole interview, bro. Like, because we was able to keep referring back to different points in the earlier interview. So I'm so glad that it was a cohesive interview. You know what I'm saying? You got anything you want to tell the people before we cut up out of here, man?
No, man. I just tell people, man, that at the end of the day, man, it's life is hard. Be a forever learner, right? Continue to have love, grace, and peace for everybody. Love, grace, and peace, man. That's it. And that's it, man. We come in a long ways, and we gotta just basically be the example. You be the change. At the end of the day, man, be the change that you want others to be. You be the change. So, man, I appreciate you having me, man. And this was authentic, real. It's 100-some degrees outside, but it's okay, man. We got through this. So, yeah.
I'm still in thoughts about conversation, man.
Yeah.
We had good dialogue.
Yeah.
We had good dialogue.
Yeah.
And, just any time you feel like you need a platform to come express yourself,
Man,
you gotta
love to come back.
Promote something.
Yes, man.
My platform is your platform.
I love to, man. Let's promote some creativity. Let's do some more podcasts. What we can do. You want to talk to some youth? I can help you, man.
Yeah, man. We definitely gonna try to incorporate something where we can help. We try to help stir the youth. You know what I'm saying? So
need us, man.
I'm definitely gonna try to consider.
Yeah, man.
And you got any social medias you want to shout out?
Man, just here's the deal, man. I'm starting to get into the social media, but man, Good Shepherd Youth Outreach on Facebook, man. We doing food insecurity. Got the youth running that. So Good Shepherd Youth Outreach, Guiding You for Life, man. It's just a website. You go there and you can send me an email, but that's pretty much it, man. I'm just always doing this with the people. I love being with the people. Yeah. And the community mention, man, the social media gonna pick up. But it's all in the time and season. So yeah, man.
So to my guy Lewis Guiding, man, Guiding You for Life, Good Shepherd Youth Outreach. He came and he represented for his brands, man. He gave you a lot of good knowledge, a lot of good informative knowledge. He taught you how to start a business that he did, how he started his, and just the substance that he gave us throughout the whole course of the interview, man. It was real good dialogue, man. I'm glad he came through here, man. So with that being said, man, we're gonna close it out, man. It's your boy Cleasy B, my guy Lewis Guy Jr. The Past Journey, Present Progression Podcast. Subscribe, like, share, comment, download, all of that if you haven't already. Help me run these numbers up. Till the next episode, you know the slogan. Go get it, come back home with it. We out of here.
Peace.
To